Well, hello everyone, and welcome to another edition of Adam's Music Box. Today, for millions of Orthodox Christians around the world, it's Pascha or Easter, and so I thought I'd talk about some music related to this holy day. Now, for those unfamiliar with Orthodox Christian music, you'll notice that there is no instrumentation. Orthodox music is based around the holy chant. And unlike Western Christian traditions, whether the Catholic Church or the vast majority of Protestant churches, which have adopted the modern musical forms of their day, albeit gradually in many cases, Orthodox churches remain vocal and vocal alone, particularly chanting. And so this might be one of the reasons why a lot of the great composers of secular European classical music have tended to not take on the prospect of composing for Orthodox liturgical services, the Divine Liturgy. Tchaikovsky, the greatest perhaps of all of the Russian composers, however, set himself to this task in 1879 when he completed his choral work, his musical interpretation of the Divine Liturgy of St. John Chrysostom, the most well-known of all of the liturgies in the Orthodox canon. And while you might think that this would have been initially celebrated by those in Russia and the Orthodox world beyond, it wasn't, for some spiritual reasons and for some bureaucratic reasons. The Imperial Chapel of Russia at the time was the organization charged with approving and creating the choral music, the chants that would fill the churches and cathedrals throughout the Russian-speaking Orthodox world. And Tchaikovsky, as a professional composer in the secular realm, writing symphonies and ballets, etc., he wasn't in that particular organization. And so they tried to actually stop and censor not only performances of the music, but also to stop even the publication from going out there. A bit of a bureaucratic scuffle ensued, but eventually the church did allow the music to be performed. And a year after it was composed, it had its premiere. There was a public premiere at a cathedral in Kiev and another in Moscow, a private performance. And listening to the music, I think it's absolutely beautiful because it combines the most sacred forms of traditional Orthodox chanting with the inspired romanticism of Tchaikovsky, who called the premiere one of the happiest days of his life because even though he's perhaps more associated with secular music, unlike the great five Russian composers of Glinka, Mussorgsky, Rimsky-Korsakov, Balakirev, and the critic Cui, Tchaikovsky wasn't particularly known for being a nationalist composer, although he did write some music focusing on folk and national type of themes. The least favorite piece that he composed, and one that was commissioned to celebrate the anniversary of Russia defeating Napoleonic France, the overture Sonal 1812, Tchaikovsky didn't like. But this, his Divine Liturgy of St. John Chrysostom, his choral piece, he loved. It was one of his very favorite compositions. Now, after its performance, some people loved it and some people hated it. And I think a lot of the hate probably came from the fact that this was a layman, a regular professional musician, so to speak, who wrote a piece of music for the church. And again, it was quite controversial because of that at the time, but it has since come to be embraced as a very elevated and beautiful tribute that Tchaikovsky made to his faith and a gift that he essentially gave to the faithful worldwide. And it's beautiful, no matter what religion you are, listening to Tchaikovsky's, listening to his liturgy that he set to music, a cappella choral music. It's stirring, it's evocative, it's got all of the qualities of Tchaikovsky. It's memorable. The harmonies are rich, tension builds and then resolves. Again, all of the hallmarks of Tchaikovsky, but again, all of the sort of musical flavor, if you will, of ancient chant that goes back to the days of Jesus Christ. And so it's sort of the present, if you will, modern music, well, by the 19th century standards, but in the scheme of things, that's modern, right? Communicating musically with that of the ancient world. I highly recommend you listening to it. I'll copy a link down below to a performance. And this began the tradition of other lay secular composers composing their own liturgical choir music scores. Rachmaninoff was probably the other most famous of the Russian composers who created his own musical version of the liturgy of St. John Chrysostom, and others have subsequently done so. But Tchaikovsky, from a lay perspective, was the first, and in my view, probably the best. So, to those celebrating, may you have a blessed day. And for those who just want to feel the power of the music, I hope you really, really enjoy it. Like, subscribe, tune in next time. Take care.